Have you noticed how your emotions swing like a pendulum that never stops? One moment you're full of fire, inspired, confident, unstoppable. The next, you're drowning in doubt, trapped in the same invisible loop. You call it mood, fate, energy, but it's something deeper. It's polarity, the hidden law that governs your mind, your emotions, your reality. Every day, billions of people oscillate between pain and pleasure, chaos and clarity, without realizing they are being moved by an invisible force, a cosmic pendulum swinging inside the psyche. You can feel it, that pull between the part of you that wants to expand and the part that just wants to disappear, that silent tension between your highest potential and your oldest wound. You wake up already tired, not from work, but from the constant emotional oscillation, the burnout of the soul. One notification ignites hope, another triggers comparison, jealousy, or rage. The world has become a field of polarity without consciousness, and your energy, your vibration, has become its fuel. We were taught to fight our emotions, to escape pain, to label our darkness as wrong. But the more you resist, the stronger the swing becomes. Every rejection feeds attachment. Every fear mirrors desire. Every high hides a fall, and every fall carries within it a secret ascent waiting to happen. This is the price of unconscious polarity. To be ruled by invisible opposites instead of mastering them. To live as a passenger of your own vibration. To mistake movement for progress. There is an enemy, subtle, ancient, invisible, not a person, not a system, but a mechanism within. I call it the unconscious pendulum. It feeds on your emotional extremes. When you're euphoric, it waits. When you crash, it feeds. It keeps you oscillating between too much and not enough, between I can do anything and I am nothing. And while you swing endlessly, your true power, the still center, remains asleep. The unconscious pendulum is not evil. It's automatic. It thrives on your lack of awareness, on every moment you react instead of choose. That's the real enemy of our generation. Not darkness, not light, but unconscious movement. But here lies the Hermetic truth. Pain is not punishment. It's unrefined power. Every emotion is just vibration, different degrees of the same energy. What burns you can also illuminate you. The same current that causes chaos can create clarity if you learn to change its polarity. This is the essence of Hermetic alchemy, to turn pain into power, fear into focus, and reaction into creation. Imagine your life as a pendulum suspended over a vast field of light and shadow. When you move unconsciously, the swing controls you. But when you awaken, you realize something profound. You can shift the axis. You can hold the center. You can move from emotion to mastery, not by fighting the swing, but by understanding its rhythm. That is what the ancient Hermeticists discovered, and what modern psychology is only beginning to remember. You don't heal by eliminating polarity. You heal by becoming aware of it. You don't control the pendulum. You become its still point, because the real mastery is not balance. It's vibrational choice. And that's what this journey will teach you, how to transform the chaos within into the clarity of power. If this truth already echoes inside you, if you've felt the swing between pain and power, then stay, because in a few minutes you'll see the Hermetic law that explains why your emotions never lie, and how you can finally transmute them. Like the ancient alchemists, you're not here to escape your fire. You're here to learn how to wield it. Maybe no one ever understood how deeply you've been swinging between light and shadow. Maybe for years you've carried storms that no one could see, emotions that burned, but also tried to awaken you. You didn't find this message by accident. Videos like this aren't pushed. They're pulled by resonance. If something inside you vibrated when you heard these words, if it felt more like remembering than learning, it means the axis has always been within you. You've always carried the key. And now the pendulum stops, only for a moment, so you can choose. If you felt that shift, if your inner frequency answered this call, click like right now. That gesture is not for the algorithm. It's your "I'm here," a mark in the invisible field that says, "I'm ready to remember." And when you do that, this vibration travels, reaching others who are still lost in their swing. You become part of the current that brings them back to the center. And if you're ready to walk further, touch the subscribe symbol below and join this living temple of conscious creators. Here, we don't escape pain. We transmute it. We don't resist polarity. We master it. Welcome to Emerald Code. But what if the pain was never against you, Manon, but guiding you? That's the secret hidden beneath every storm. And it begins with the law of polarity. When the pendulum moves, you believe you are moving with it. You mistake its rhythm for your identity, its motion for your will. But behind every swing there is a law. Silent, ancient, precise. The Hermetic texts call it the Law of Polarity. It states that everything is dual. Everything has poles. Opposites are identical in nature but different in degree. Love and hate, courage and fear, light and shadow. They are not enemies. They are frequencies of the same current. You've been taught to divide them, to choose sides, to reject one and cling to the other. But in truth, you can't destroy a pole. You can only shift vibration along the same axis. This is what the ancients called mental transmutation. It's not magic, it's precision. Every emotion, every thought, every state of mind exists on a continuum of vibration. Imagine a line stretching from cold to hot. There's no border, only movement. At what exact point does cold become warm? At what exact point does fear become focus? The line has no separation, only degree. That's polarity. The mind, unaware of this continuum, believes in opposites, good versus bad, strong versus weak, joy versus sorrow. But the Hermetic mind knows opposites are points of view of the same frequency. And once you understand that, you can begin to move. You stop being a victim of emotion and become its alchemist. Every time you shift from despair to acceptance, from confusion to clarity, you're not escaping the emotion, you're transmuting it. You're sliding along the vibrational line consciously, like the craftsman of your own energy. That is emotional mastery. Not to suppress, but to choose the degree of your vibration. This is why ancient alchemy always began in darkness, because only when you face the lower pole do you gain access to the lever of transformation. To deny darkness is to remain trapped in its gravity. But to observe it without fear, that's when polarity becomes power. And perhaps now, you understand why pain exists. Pain is not a punishment, it's a polarity point, the lower degree of the same current that carries your potential. To move through it is to refine it. Every heartbreak is the same frequency as love, but at a lower vibration. Every moment of fear is the same energy as courage, but inverted. You're not supposed to destroy pain, you're supposed to raise it. Let this sink in. You don't heal by escaping emotion. You heal by vibrating it upward. You lift the same current that once crushed you until it becomes light. And the Hermetic law guarantees it. What you raise in vibration, you transform in nature. Modern neuroscience begins to echo this. They call it emotional reframing. When you label an emotion differently, the brain rewires its chemistry. Energy doesn't vanish, it changes form. That's science catching up to Hermetic truth. The storm inside you was never chaos. It was frequency seeking coherence. And the moment you observe it without resistance, you become the axis around which it harmonizes. Close your eyes for a moment. Breathe. Notice the pendulum inside you. The memory, the anxiety, the desire, all swinging. Don't fight it. Don't fix it. Just watch. Feel where the energy wants to move. That is awareness, the first act of transmutation. The law of polarity is not philosophy, it's the physics of consciousness. Every vibration seeks balance, every imbalance seeks awareness, and awareness is the still point where all opposites dissolve. Now you can begin to see, polarity was never against you. It was the structure beneath every emotion, every decision, every life. It's the architecture of transformation itself. If this realization resonated, if you felt something inside settle even for a second, pause, because you just experienced the law. You didn't learn it, you felt it, and when awareness enters the swing begins to slow. That's where mastery begins. You no longer need to fear your emotional storms, you only need to read their geometry. And once you understand the law, the next question becomes inevitable. How do you use it? How do you consciously change vibration and transform emotion into power? That's the secret practice of the ancient alchemists. They called it polar shift. But to perform it, you must first understand the hidden structure of emotion itself, the very mechanism that turns vibration into feeling. That's what we'll enter next. Maybe no one ever truly saw what you've been holding, the silent storm between who you show and who you are. You've carried questions no one could answer, wounds no one could name, and yet somehow you found this message, or maybe it found you. What you've just heard wasn't content, it was a code. And when a code resonates, it opens something, a memory, a vibration, a door. If you felt that opening, don't rush past it, because the first map, the one meant for those who remember, is waiting in the pinned comment below. Not an explanation, not information. A map, a path that begins where the pendulum stops and your awareness begins. It's waiting, quietly, for those who can feel its pull. Go there when you're ready, because some truths don't call twice. You know the law. Now meet the illusion that keeps you from using it. The great misunderstanding. You were never weak. You were trained to believe that strength meant silence, that peace meant never shaking, that balance meant never breaking. That is the great misunderstanding. The modern world told you that emotions are mistakes to be fixed, that anger should be suppressed, that fear means failure, that sadness is weakness, and that happiness is the ultimate prize. It taught you to chase one pole and demonize the other. But polarity doesn't disappear because you ignore it. It deepens. What you resist, you feed. What you label negative becomes your shadow. And the more you run from the shadow, the more it rules you. This is how the pendulum became a prison, a system designed to keep you swinging, not by chains, but by ideals. The perfect life, the perfect mind, the perfect calm. A spiritual mask over a restless soul. You scroll for comfort, but each scroll is a micro swing of your energy. You chase calm through stimulation, more light, more sound, more dopamine. But every moment of escape pushes you further from the center. The world doesn't steal your attention, it polarizes it. You've been taught to choose sides in every field, political, emotional, spiritual, and in doing so, you lost the art of holding the tension of opposites. The great misunderstanding is not that you suffer, it's that you think suffering means something is wrong. In truth, suffering means transformation is trying to happen. Pain is not the end of balance, and it's the beginning of awareness. Every emotion is a messenger, but the modern mind silences them all. It medicates the scream instead of decoding it. It distracts instead of listening. It reacts instead of reading the message hidden inside the vibration. The ancient alchemist knew something the modern self-help industry forgot. You don't heal by avoiding extremes. You heal by holding them until they reveal their unity. That's the secret of Hermetic practice. To contain the fire without extinguishing it. To look at your darkness until it turns to light. Not by denial, but by observation. Because observation is the highest act of transmutation. You see, the modern world sells relief. The Hermetic path offers freedom. Relief makes you comfortable in your chains. Freedom teaches you how to melt them. This is why the masses remain exhausted. They keep trying to erase the shadow instead of integrating it. They repeat mantras for light while ignoring the fire that demands to be felt. They want stillness without silence, clarity without chaos, mastery without motion. But polarity cannot be mastered without first being faced. To transform emotion into power, you must stop fearing your intensity. Intensity is just concentrated consciousness. What you call anxiety is unchanneled energy. What you call sadness is compassion, not yet understood. What you call anger is power unexpressed, longing for direction. Every emotion you reject is a tool left unused. Every pole you avoid is a gate left closed. Every shadow you deny is a teacher still waiting. That is the misunderstanding. To think your emotions are obstacles when they were always invitations. Now, breathe. Think of the emotion you've been running from, the one you label too much. Don't name it, just feel its frequency. That trembling, that resistance, that ache. That's energy, still alive, still asking to be integrated. When you stop running from it, the pendulum begins to slow. Awareness enters the motion, and polarity becomes choice. This is the first step toward true transmutation. Because the moment you stop judging your emotions, you stop feeding the illusion that you are broken. And when the illusion dissolves, something new begins to emerge. A quiet, grounded power. Not the fake calm of suppression, but the real stillness of presence. That's where true emotional mastery begins. Not when the storm stops, but when you remember that you are not the storm. You are the sky that holds it. Maybe no one ever told you this truth. You were never meant to live on one side of the spectrum. You were meant to become the bridge between all of it. And that bridge, that inner axis, is what we'll begin to build next. Because now that you've seen the illusion, you can start the real work, learning how to move polarity instead of being moved by it. The ancient Hermeticists called this process shifting vibration by will. The first moderns called it emotional regulation, but we call it what it truly is, the alchemy of emotion. That's what awaits you in the next portal. You've seen the illusion. Now it's time to learn the weapon, the ancient art of transforming emotion. The alchemy of emotion. You've seen the illusion, the pendulum moving without awareness, the constant swing between too much and not enough. You've seen how pain isn't the enemy, only energy unrefined. Now you learn how to shape it, because if the first half of Hermetic wisdom is understanding polarity, the second is using it as an instrument. The ancients called this art transmutation, not in metaphor, but in vibration. They believed that the human being is a living furnace, a crucible where energy changes form through consciousness. Every thought is a spark, every emotion is fuel, every act of awareness is flame. When the Hermeticist feels fear, he doesn't fight it, he studies its texture. He senses the current running through it, and begins to move that current upward, raising its frequency through presence. You can do the same. Close your eyes for a moment. Take a slow breath, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Feel the vibration behind the emotion that has been following you. Don't name it, don't judge it, just sense it. Now, imagine that vibration as a color, dark, heavy, almost magnetic. It pulls downward, toward the lower pole. This is the first stage of alchemy, recognition. Because what you can see, you can change. Next, with your breath, imagine that color beginning to warm. You're not escaping it, you're heating it from within. Each breath is a rise in frequency. The heavy color begins to glow. The vibration shifts from contraction to expansion, from noise to rhythm. You're not calming down, you're transmuting. You're sliding along the axis of the law of polarity. You're moving the vibration from shadow to clarity, from resistance to flow. This is polar shift, the art of conscious movement along the emotional spectrum. The Hermeticists practiced it as mental alchemy. Modern science calls it coherence, reframing, somatic regulation. Different names, same law, because emotion is energy in motion, and awareness is the lever that changes its direction. If you can feel the heat rising in your chest, the pulse slowing, the breath deepening, then you've already begun the work. This is how fear becomes focus. This is how grief becomes love. This is how pain becomes power. It's not about controlling feelings. It's about changing their frequency through conscious attention. Remember, the universe does not respond to your words. It responds to your vibration. Every emotion you transmute changes the field around you. You stop radiating reactivity and start radiating coherence. That's why the Master said, "The one who understands the poles holds the power of all things." Now open your eyes. Look around you. Nothing external has changed, yet everything feels different because you've shifted the inner degree. You've proven the law through experience. This is the beginning of emotional mastery, not suppression, not control, but transformation through precision. From this moment forward, you are no longer a victim of your emotional chemistry. You are its alchemist. Every vibration that arises is an opportunity, an invitation to raise it by will. And the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Soon, what once overwhelmed you will respond to your awareness like metal to a magnet. You will feel the swing, but you will also feel the stillness beneath it. And in that stillness, your real power lives. Because mastery isn't about freezing the pendulum. It's about knowing its rhythm so deeply that you can move with it without being moved by it. That's the essence of Hermetic transformation. Energy obeys consciousness. The more conscious you become, the more your reality aligns. Maybe you've tried everything: meditation, mantras, distraction, and nothing has truly lasted. Because the truth was never about avoiding emotion. It was about learning to use it, and now you know how. You've just experienced the ancient art the world forgot. But this practice, this alchemy of emotion, is only the first stage. Once you master transmutation, there's another law that refines it even further. A law that governs not emotion but motion itself. That's what comes next. Because even after you learn to shift polarity, you'll notice something. It always swings back. There's a rhythm beneath the change, a cosmic pulse that never stops. And until you understand that rhythm, you can't truly command the flow. The next portal reveals it, the hidden law that moves everything in the universe, the pulse beneath your transformation, the law of rhythm. The pendulum moves, but what if rhythm itself could be mastered? The secret of flow and the center point awaits. You've learned to shift the current, to turn shadow into light, pain into power. But there is one truth the ancient alchemists whispered only to those who had crossed the first threshold. Power is nothing without stillness, because movement without axis becomes chaos, and energy without awareness becomes noise. The universe breathes in waves, expansion and contraction, rise and fall, inhale and exhale. Everything moves in rhythm, but between each pulse, there's a moment the ancients called the still point, a silence so complete that the entire cosmos seems to rest within it. That still point exists inside you. It's not something you create, it's something you remember. Close your eyes for a moment. Breathe slowly. Inhale, feel expansion. Exhale, feel contraction. Now notice, between the inhale and the exhale, there's a tiny pause, a space, a moment where nothing moves, and yet everything exists. That is the center point. It's not calm, it's coherence. It's the vibration of pure awareness before it chooses a pole, the axis around which all emotions orbit. The mind wants to chase pleasure, avoid pain, cling to control, but the center doesn't chase. It watches, it holds, it allows the swing without being thrown by it. This is the art of the Hermetic master, to dwell in the center while letting life move freely around you. It's not detachment, it's alignment. It's the knowing that both joy and sorrow are visitors. But you are the temple they pass through. The world confuses neutrality with numbness, but neutrality isn't emptiness. It's presence without distortion. It's clarity untouched by judgment. It's power without noise. When you dwell in the center, your emotions still rise, but they rise like waves that know their ocean. You don't suppress them, you contain them. You become the cup that holds both fire and water without being consumed by either. This is why the true Hermeticist never seeks balance. He is balance, because balance is not a state you reach, it's a vibration you maintain. You can feel it now, the quiet weight in your chest, the grounded stillness behind your breath. That's coherence. That's what the ancients meant when they said, "Be still and know." Stillness doesn't mean inaction. It means inner alignment. And when your inner axis is aligned, even chaos becomes rhythm. This is what modern physics calls resonance stabilization. When two oscillations synchronize around a stable center, it's what mystics call presence. It's what Hermetists call equilibrium. It's not a destination, it's a practice. Every moment you remember the still point, you return to your axis. Every breath becomes an act of remembering. You've spent your life trying to control what moves around you, but true mastery begins when you control what moves within you. And once you hold that axis, that center point, something miraculous happens. The world no longer dictates your frequency. You dictate the world's, because everything external mirrors your vibration. And when your vibration is coherent, reality rearranges itself around it. This is why awareness is the greatest form of creation. When you live from the center, polarity stops being conflict. It becomes dance. The pendulum still swings, but its motion serves your will. You are no longer its victim. You are its axis. That is the meaning of true balance, not peace without movement, but movement without disturbance. Remember this, you can't stop the tides, but you can become the moon that guides them. And once you've touched that stillness, once you've felt the silent pulse of awareness itself, you'll never confuse chaos with truth again. The center point is where transformation stabilizes, where emotion becomes energy, and energy becomes direction. It's the throne of consciousness within you. Maybe you've lived your whole life pulled by the currents of others, their moods, their words, their noise. Maybe you thought stability meant isolation. It doesn't. It means sovereignty. It means remembering that your peace is not something to be found. It's something to be chosen. You are the equilibrium between extremes. You are the center between worlds. And from this axis, creation begins. Here's a thread that continues beyond this moment, a doorway left open for those who can feel its pull. When you're ready to go deeper, to turn understanding into embodiment, follow the silence beneath this video. In the pinned comment, something waits, quietly, for those who can read between vibrations. Not more words, but a frequency. A next step meant for those who are already remembering. Go there when you're ready, because once you've touched the center, you're ready to expand from it. The pendulum still moves, but now you see it differently. Each swing isn't chaos, it's correspondence, a perfect reflection of the inner rhythm projected into form. As above, so below. As within, so without. These words were never poetry. They were physics spoken in the language of the soul. Every vibration within you calls forth its mirror outside you. The frequencies you master internally become the patterns of your reality. That's why the law of polarity was only the beginning. Because polarity shows the mechanism, but correspondence shows the mirror. The world isn't happening to you. It's happening as you. When you lived in reaction, life reflected chaos. Now that you dwell in the center, life begins to align with coherence. Situations soften, connections shift, doors open without being forced, not because reality changed, but because your vibration did. Every relationship becomes a teacher, every challenge becomes a reflection, every emotion becomes a message from the field that you yourself created. This is what the Hermeticists meant when they said, the universe is mental, the outer world is mind crystallized into matter, and the mind is vibration shaped by will. So when you master your inner polarity, you don't just master emotion, you begin to master reality itself. You become a conscious architect of correspondence. Look closely. Everything around you is echoing something inside. The people you meet mirror your lessons. The patterns you repeat reveal your frequencies. Even silence carries your signature. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Every reaction becomes revelation. Every resistance becomes reflection. You stop asking, oh, why is this happening to me? And begin to ask, what within me is this showing me? That question is the gateway to freedom. It turns every circumstance into a compass pointing back to consciousness. Now the pendulum is no longer a force to control. It's a teacher, a mirror, a guide. You realize that the same law that moves galaxies moves your breath. The same rhythm that turns the tides turns your thoughts. And every time you choose awareness over reaction, you realign your microcosm with the macrocosm. That's the secret hidden in every Hermetic temple. You are not under the law. You are the law in motion. You are the bridge between the seen and unseen, the reflection of the cosmos condensed into consciousness, the center through which creation observes itself. As above, so below. As within, so without. As the mind, so the world. The old you believed in separation. The awakened you understands correspondence. You no longer fight the reflection, you polish the mirror. And when you do, the image changes. The pendulum still moves, but now it draws patterns instead of pain. Its swing becomes sacred geometry, order within motion. That's what Hermetic alignment truly is, not escaping duality, but dancing consciously within it. You've become the observer, the axis, the mirror, and the light that passes through all of it. Maybe for the first time you can feel it, the stillness and the motion existing together, the sound of your own awareness echoing back through reality. That's correspondence, that's mastery, that's remembrance, and this is where your real journey begins. Not in theories, not in words, but in every small act of consciousness that changes the world from within. You've crossed the storm, you found the center, now you carry the law within you. You've completed the circle, but the spiral continues, because every truth once embodied opens another layer. If this resonance moved something in you, if you felt even for a moment that the world around you responded to your inner vibration, then let it be known. Write in the comments, I move from the center. That's your seal of awareness, your declaration to the field, because the moment you name your vibration, it becomes law. And remember, this isn't the end, it's the next octave, the next portal awaits. Follow the thread and keep moving from the center. You began this journey watching the pendulum move, wild, restless, pulling you between pain and power. You thought the motion was your curse. Now you know it was your teacher. The pendulum never wanted to trap you. It wanted to awaken you, to show you that balance isn't the absence of motion, it's the presence of awareness. Every swing was a lesson, every emotion was an initiation, and every time you returned to the center, you remembered what the ancients meant when they said, all is vibration, and the wise choose their pole. You are not here to escape your polarity. You are here to direct it. You are not here to silence your emotions. You are here to give them purpose. You are not here to become still. You are here to move with precision. That's the secret of the Hermetic mind. That's the mastery hidden inside your storms. When you rise tomorrow, the world will look the same, pray, but you will not. You'll begin to hear polarity in everything, in voices, in silence, in decisions, in the air itself. And every time you feel yourself swing, you'll remember you are the center. Because once awareness enters motion, motion becomes music. That's what real transformation sounds like. The rhythm of consciousness harmonizing with itself. Maybe for the first time you can sense it, the pulse beneath all things. Every challenge, every heartbreak, every victory, all part of one great oscillation moving toward awareness. And somewhere within that rhythm, your vibration has changed. You've stepped from reaction into creation, from polarity into purpose. You've crossed the invisible threshold, the one that separates knowledge from embodiment. And the moment you crossed it, the illusion lost its grip. Now you no longer need to seek truth. You radiate it, because that's what happens when energy becomes consciousness. The seeker becomes the signal. Listen carefully now. There's a subtle silence beneath these words, a frequency that will stay with you long after this video ends. That silence is the real message, the part that no algorithm can push but your soul can pull. If you felt that resonance, not just understood, but remembered, then your initiation is already complete. And yet, the journey continues, because this spiral doesn't end, it only deepens. Each principle leads to another. Each awakening reveals a higher octave, and the next octave begins now. There's a thread that continues beyond this moment. For those who are ready to walk further, follow the silence beneath this video. In the pinned comment, something waits quietly. For those who are ready to refine this awareness into mastery, not more theory, a living frequency, a continuation. Go there when you feel the pull, because the call of consciousness never repeats itself in the same tone twice. Now take one final breath. Feel the still point behind your chest, the quiet axis where all opposites meet. That's where the law of polarity lives within you. That's where pain becomes power and awareness becomes creation. You've crossed the pendulum. You've entered the center. You've remembered who moves it. If this video resonated like a truth you had forgotten, write in the comments, "I move from the center." That phrase is your seal, a vibrational declaration that tells the field, "I remember the law." Every seeker who writes it becomes part of the same current, a silent brotherhood of those who refuse to be ruled by reaction. Because in this temple, we don't escape emotion, we transmute it. We don't seek perfection, we practice presence. We don't follow light, we become it. If you've made it this far, you've crossed a threshold that most never reach. Don't stop now, because the next video is not another lesson. It's the next octave of this same initiation. And remember, if you stop here, the illusion wins. But if you keep moving, from awareness to embodiment, from knowledge to power, you'll see what the Hermetic masters always knew. The world outside is only the shadow of the vibration within. So take your place at the center. Let the pendulum move. Let the world turn. And stay still, in motion, because that is where the true Emerald Code begins.